Hi, I'm Ray Morgan. Welcome to Raising Veg. Hi, welcome back again to the plot. Today we're going to be pretty busy. I've cleared all the weeds away and we are now going to start putting up the Brassica netting. I make 2 small tunnels and yeah, okay, so we'll get straight into that and we'll move on. Let's have a look at the equipment I'm going to use first of all. Now, this is the I use for the framework, and what it is 25mm mains water pipe, plastic mains water pipe. The 25mm is across the outside diameter. The inside diameter is 20mm. Now what we're going to do is just do some loops into the ground. Now to hold that in place, what I have here is some steel poles. Now these are 18mm diameter, which fit nicely inside the blue plastic tubing. So these go in the ground. This gives it the vertical rigidity that you need and helps stop it collapsing. So right, okay, let's put the frame up. Okay, the framework approximate size is 8 foot by 6 foot. So on the 8 foot length, I'm only going to need 3 loops, approximately 3.5 to 4 feet apart, and that should be sufficient to give me an area for 5 Brussels plants, which is what this first cage is going to be for. So here we go. Okay, looks like I've got the wrong tube on this one, so we'll have to find the right one. Okay, that's the 3 up. It does help if you have the 3 lengths of tube in the same length. I had 2 that were the wrong ones. So anyway, that's up. Now the next job is to brace the top to stop them collapsing inwards. So I'll get some bamboo canes and we'll tie them in. Okay, I'm going to abandon putting the netting up today. It's just too windy. It makes a hell of a job to get it all lined up and straightened. So I'll give up on the netting today, but what I will do is move on and make the next cage, which will be here, and that's going to be for my cabbages. Hi, yeah, welcome back. It's always been said that Britain doesn't have a climate, it just has weather, and I think that about sums it up. After saying that we'd have the next 10 days of very fine weather, we had gale force winds, 2 days of driving rain, and yeah, that just about sums it up. So anyway, we're back on the plot. I've managed to put up the 2 cages, and hopefully it's still a little bit windy, but hopefully we're going to get the netting over the 2 cages and possibly get some plants planted. Okay. Okay, job done. As you can see, it lets plenty of sunlight in. It's quite secure. This end is all tied up. We'll stay that way. This end, all I've done is gathered it up in a twist, just twist it all round like that and tie it in a knot, and then when I want to get inside, just undo that and it opens like a little door and I can get in. And it may seem as if I've made myself a bit of a tight angle here, or should I say not given enough space. We've got to remember these onions, these are shallots, they'll be coming up quite early in the summer when they're ready, whereas this cage is going to have Brussels, which will be right the way through till next spring. So this area will be all cleared, which will give me more access. During the growing season of the Brussels, I shouldn't need to get in there too often. I can water them through the netting. So yeah, I've allowed myself a bit of a gap so I can get round all the way around it if I need to, but I'm happy with that. Now all I've got to do is plant the Brussels. Okay, let's go inside the tunnel here and we'll take a look at how I do my Brussels. I've already put a good firm stake in. Now what I'm about to show you I do to all my brassicas, Brussels, cabbages, cauliflowers, broccoli, the whole lot, and I've had great success with it. There's a few things I will point out which I think is quite important and does help to make them successful. So let me just set up the camera and we'll get going. Right, one of the first things we really need to do is, which quite often goes against everything else, is the ground around the area that you're going to plant needs to be really firm. So stamp it in. Okay. Now, first thing to do is, this is a little bit of ash. Okay, which you just fork it in. Now the ash has come off of my barbecue. You don't have to put this in, it's just something I do because I have it. It does help to keep some of the nasties away for some reason or other. Okay, now then, what I want to do next is we've got to dig out up against the post. So I would normally have grown these at home, but I've had to go and buy some of these, which I won't go into the reasons why, but basically my own are a little bit behind, so I needed to get these in, so I went and bought them. But they are the variety I normally grow anyway, and these are called Trafalgar. Now, what is important about planting all brassicas? It's very much like I explained with the tomato plant. These lower leaves here, now if this was a cabbage, of course this bottom leaf here or round about here would be where the cabbage starts to form. So you don't want to be planting it at this height because it all becomes top heavy and it swings around, sways, and this disturbs the root and you end up in possible club root. So what we want to do, these bottom leaves aren't that important. So I'm going to be planting this down at that level, especially if this is cauliflowers, cabbage, more important to those than it is with the Brussels, because the Brussels are obviously going to produce a long stalk, but it's still important to get that established. You do not want this to be rocking around in the soil. Okay, so that is extremely important. Now there are some books that will tell you what you can do is you firm the soil down, as I've just done here, and then what you do is you make a hole like that, open up, or I don't know if you could see that, it's hard to tell what's in the camera, isn't it? And what you do is you firm it down solid, and then you open up the soil like that and you drop the plant down to the level I've just said, and then you put the dibber the other side and you squeeze it up tight to get all the air out. The principle is the same, but I do it slightly differently. So once we've got our sort of depth, which is about there, the next thing, and this is a real, again I use this a lot and it works so well, chicken manure pellets. and I put those in the bottom and just gently mix it in with some soil. Now brassicas just love nitrogen, which is one of the reasons why you on the rotation you always put your brassicas in where your legumes have been, your peas, your beans and everything, because they do retain nitrogen. So right, now we've got that in there, that's going to sit on. Okay, so we want this to go down right where those two leaves here are actually sitting on the ground. Okay, they're sitting now in sort of 50-50 chicken manure, pellets and soil, and now we fill in. And this is the second most important thing, is this has to be as hard as you can get it. The soil, you squeeze all the air out like so again, and this helps preventing club root. Like so. And I can't emphasize that enough, this firming in. Now a lot of people put collars around the base. I've been growing these, well, since I was a teenager. Back in about 62, 64, I worked on a farm, and there was an old boy in his mid-80s. He'd fought in the Boer War, and he taught me a lot about cabbages and those 2 points there about getting them down to the first leaf level and pressing them in as hard as possible. And we used to produce some fantastic cauliflowers. I think if you look at the intro to my videos, you'll see a bench with I think about 6 or 8 cauliflowers. They were grown here about 5 years ago. It's one of the things I've always been successful with is my brassicas. Okay, so that is it. Now what I'll do is, when I usually finish off, is heel them in like that. And after that, about, once they're well on their way, I would say about every 2 to 3 weeks, I would probably a couple of tablespoonfuls and just gently put it round the base of the plant, and then if we've had no rain or whatever, I would water it in anyway, watering the plant in the dry season. But every 3 weeks, a little handful to give them a bit of feed. Okay, so again, I'll say take it down to the bottom 2 leaves, put a handful of chicken pellets, if you've got them, into the bottom first, sink them down, and then firm this in as hard as you can, so it's a good tight fit all around the roots. And that is it. And you do that to your collies, your Brussels, your cabbages, and so on. Okay, that's it. And I'll catch you the next time.